Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, hi Navnit. How are you?
Fine, sir. Nice to
You
see
can
you.
hear me well?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay.
My audio is okay?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
When do you think we should start?
We can start by directly talking about the
How,
repertory.
how, how is the how is the climate over there?
It's humid, hot and warm.
No rains?
Hot and warm.
Acha.
Yes. Clouds are forming and heat is still there. So
Oh.
we're getting the another type of heat after dry heat.
Tell Navnit, after we are seeing each other after so many days now, huh?
Yes, yes, sir. Beyond mailbox. Right.
The last we interacted was at that session that we had at
Yes,
Palghar
yes. On Bogar.
on Bogar. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That extends to the book that we are interested in talking today as well.
Definitely. Both are
It's very
connected.
interesting. When I used to normally study Phatak,
Yes,
it was always a issue of sorts to identify ki, in the whole process of classification of repertories. How and where do we park Dr. Phatak's repertory? A lot of people have commented and then classified it in a particular way.
yes,
But
yes.
I think it needs to be re-looked at because of multiple reasons. What is your view on that?
It is very interesting actually because of its unique structure. And if we can see the hierarchy or evolution when it is coming, it has been published on around 1963. Right, so it's after BBCR, after Kent, and after Boger, and it has been popularized after almost 80s, 1980s, gradually in a profession. Or at one shot, the popular notion about Phatak's repertory is, in general, fraternity.
Yeah, Navneet.
Yes, sir. So, general notion among students, or we can say the homeopathic communities, is that Phatak repertory is a clinical repertory. This is the very general notion, because all are resorting to Kent or modern repertory or BBCR when they have a clarity on philosophy. This is the general ideas, but they will find some particular rubrics in only in Phatak, then they will approach the Phatak. But when we study Phatak in depth, repertory and the whole background of repertory, how Phatak has used it, how Phatak has produced or made it,
Correct.
or how he was using it in his practice, then we can understand in a very clear manner that Phatak's repertory is based on certain philosophical background, mostly the Boger's philosophy. So it has the background philosophy definitely. So it is not a casual clinical repertory. Uh, so we can classify it in a systematic repertory also, and it can be used to refer clinical rubrics though definitely, but it is
Because
not.
if
Yes,
you look if you happen to read the preface
yes,
that Phatak sir has written, it talks of he being influenced by Boger
yes,
and his BBCR as well, and how that has actually it is very interesting to understand ki how and why it could have been the idea that Phatak sir arrived at. he better structure a repertory based on this idea that Boger had proposed in his PBCR. So I always think there is a strong philosophical background that is associated with Phatak sir's effort when he has created that repertory.
Yes, sir, definitely. Because the only point is Phatak has never mentioned in a very structured way what is the philosophy behind Phatak's repertory. But if we study with the quest in mind, when we try to look philosophy, and if we study, then we can find how Phatak has used the background philosophy, especially of Boger's philosophy. How he made this alphabetic repertory, it is very interesting to know. Historically speaking, he has been using a Boger synoptic key as a primary repertory. The interesting fact is it contains both the materia medica and repertory together in a very small book to have. So you can have a quick solution by referring both the section in one book only. That is the one thing. Another is Phatak is coming from the MBBS background. He was using this Boger synoptic key as a primary repertory. And he has a very, we can say, the enormous flow of patient. So in that scenario, he has to give a remedy in a very quick manner. He was well aware with the background, all the philosophies and principles in Organon, but the style of his practice suited with the Boger's philosophy because of to identify the genius of the case as well as the remedy. So for that, Boger synoptic is the best choice. And first, it is very interesting. After a lot, many years, I read few days back, I read the preface in Marathi of Phatak's repertory, which he had prepared. The very interesting word is Yojana Kosh. How exact translation of a repertory, Yojana Kosh. So we can definitely understand how he has given his effort to translate all the repertories. And
It
then
could also be, Navnit, it could also be being an allopath by profession
yes,
or qualification, we could say, maybe the understanding of clinical disease,
yes,
which determines the line of therapeutic management,
yes,
could have been a thought process that may have worked on him. Because if you refer the preface, you see that a lot of he making statements that a lot of people wanted to learn homeopathy from him
yes,
and from his
yes,
faculty.
yes.
So, in
So,
order to help them understand, who better to do it than taking recourse to Boger?
definitely.
And therefore, it is really very interesting to understand that there are two concepts that are very effectively utilized in that repertory. One is generalization and grand generalization thereafter,
Yes.
and the process of pathogenesis
Of
that
Boger.
gets reflected in the rubrics.
Definitely.
So
So
these two
hmm,
philosophies of Boningason and Boger, I rather think very positively has been brought by him in
yes,
the book that he has created.
yes,
And I believe most of us today are totally not so oriented to a Boningason's philosophy to be applied in practice,
yes,
and application of Boger's philosophy in practice as well.
definitely.
So we may be using Phatak's repertory in a very what you say,
Casual,
um, sorry,
casual way.
not a casual way, but in a very narrow view of the whole concept that underlies that book.
Yes,
Therefore, when I was reading the book, it is very subtle. Very subtle. It's very striking as well. In the book, wherever they are written aggravations and ameliorations, which are specific,
yes,
then they are in small.
small. And if
But
they are general,
when the
yes,
same thing he writes in capital,
then
he
it's
says that please use this as a general rubric.
general rubric. Yes,
Interesting. I was really struck by this small change having such a big, meaningful difference.
Yes, sir. So there are actually 2 points. That one is of arrangement. That Phatak wanted to make a very simplified and handy arrangement for ease to use. So he has made it, inspired from the supplementary reference table of Boger synoptic key. And the purpose was only to make it simplified, use it handy in a clinic. That is one thing. But he has not compromised the philosophy. He he has given a clarity in a preface that you should generalize when you are not having a very specific rubric uh, from your case. And this what you have spoken about capital and small about modalities. He has also talked about how we should consider the modality and concomitant in a case and what is the importance of those in a totality. So in general, we can see him emphasizing on the causation, modality, concomitant, and the whole genius and most important part, most essential part of the case, which is to be matched with the particular or exact match from the repertory. So in general, Bonninghausen as well as Boger. So both have influenced Phatak, and those philosophy has been imbibed in the structure of the repertory, in the rubrics of the repertory, but the arrangement is alphabetical, so everybody can use it in a very simple manner.
The best part of the whole book is that since it is alphabetically arranged,
Yes,
you don't go in the typical format that you see a Boger synoptic repertory section or a BBCR or a Kent. You
yes,
can simply follow your alphabets and go to the alphabet that you are actually looking at.
and you can get the rubric.
You could get a rubric. We
And
saw a lot of presentations that we made at the Friday with Dhavne also,
yes,
where quite a few people made an effort to demonstrate the application.
yes,
And I think all those cases that we discussed or demonstrated at that time had this philosophical background of Bonninghausen and Boger at the same time.
yes. Ogre.
What was your experience? Have you used Phatak and have you actually felt the need of using those philosophies that come up and then seeing the application of that using Phatak's repertory?
Yeah, I would like to share a few cases, couple of cases. Uh, when in a case processing, I have a clarity on the elements of the case that these are the most important part of the case. And if those are modality, causation, pathogenesis, or we can say pathology or pathological general, then I will resort to a Phatak's repertory for a better clarity and how he has compiled the very essential remedies. Slightly more than Boger synoptic key, and in a very working universe that it's not too large a number that we are lost in the repertory sheet, right? So it is a very practical in that way. So I had a case of a severe cramp in calf before menses, a lady had, and she also had a backache before menses, and cramps were too much severe. So this was the case. She was not talking at all. So it was not a typically a large case or a Kent style of case. Another point I get from her was leukorrhea was indelible. Staining were indelible. So I had a very limited data to process. But if we look from the Boger or Phatak's point of view, how Phatak would consider the modality or the pathogenesis. So I just pick up the before menses aggravation as a generalized modality, and cramp. It was too severe, and backache was also muscular rather than a typical pathological backache. So cramps were generalized. These two were the rubrics, and the one rubric was leukorrhea indelible. So I get a viburnum opulus. and then I referred to the materia medica. It was a perfect match. Otherwise, we would not have thought viburnum opulus out of the routine repertorization or routine direct prescription from our database of knowledge of materia medica. So it helped in that way. So he has given a very particular rubrics also. They are also good in number and very important and essential general rubrics also. Our colleague Dr. Arun has also shared one of the very interesting case of him of use of I think it was adhesions of intestines after operation. Patient underwent a surgery for some sort of carcinoma, and after operation getting abdominal pain, and the conclusion was it is due to adhesions of intestines. So the Phatak gives a very clarity. Operations after adhesions, such a very specific rubric. But if we see, it is not a keynote or particular rubric. It is a whole complete symptom in itself. We have a pathology, we have a modality or causation or pathogenesis in itself. So it was prescribed, I think, calcarea floor. And when we refer the calcarea floor, it has all the adhesions, pathology, even after operation aggravation, as well as the particular tissue affinity or sphere of action on a fibrous tissue where adhesions is occurring. So he has talked this in one of his video in our series Friday with Dhavdes. A very interesting application of Phatak's repertory in a surgical cases also. So if you find the clarity on the aspect, which aspect are most essential from your case, then Phatak repertory is quite helpful rather than being lost in a larger rubric or larger number of remedies. So this is the one thing. Yes, sir.
No, one thing that really, one insight that we should really carry home is that when you are making a statement that adhesions operations after
Yes.
is a referred rubric, and you are making a statement that this is in itself a complete symptom.
Yeah.
So it is very important that when you are referring to that repertory, the rubric per se, that word per se, should not be taken for the word itself.
Yes.
Or the phrase itself. There should be a thought applied. What is it that underlying behind that single word or that single phrase, which is a conglomeration of 2 or 3 words? It will definitely indicate to you a concept that underlines of a complete symptom.
Yes.
That is one thing. The second thing that is very to be captured is that we should not fall prey to the concept of keynote prescribing.
Definitely. Yes.
We tend to fall prey. We opened Phatak's repertory, we found a rubric, and then that eureka, that's the moment of happiness.
Yes.
You really have to give a thought to that rubric. It's already, he's very clearly spelt it out in his preface as well. Whenever you get that eureka moment, please go back and check what your patient's complaint is, and definitely go back and check what is the symptom that are listed in that materia medica.
Yes.
When you match these two things, then that eureka moment can be justified, but not limited to the concept of keynotes.
Yes, definitely. Basically,
these are very important lessons that we should take home when we are attempting to use Phatak sir's repertory.
Yes.
Yes, no. Any other case that you think you can share?
Yes, I would like to share Phatak's own case.
Oh, okay.
So it would give highlight how Phatak was considering the modality in his case. It is very interesting how he would go in depth of the data coming from the patient directly. A very interesting case with the patient of a cystitis, UTI case, having a severe pain. He has prescribed couple of prescription, but the patient was not getting better. So he asked about modality, how patient is getting better. So patient
Mm-hmm.
was sitting with legs tight. The typical,
Mm-hmm.
the remedy would pop in our mind is sepia directly. Yes, but sepia didn't help actually. So, so Phatak asked in a beyond symptoms that how you are getting relief. So patients clarified that I am getting relief by applying the pressure to the genitals. But how? It was the constant pressure. As far as the patient releases the pressure, the pain was reappearing. So beautifully, he took a steady pressure amelioration. Commonly, we would take a amelioration by sitting with a cross leg or amelioration by pressure, etc. Phatak would think steady pressure amelioration. So he would go in depth of the how pressure is being applied. It is the hard pressure, it is a steady pressure, or it is the simple pressure or rubbing or gentle pressure or what. So the steady pressure amelioration, there are only two remedies in the Phatak's repertory, nitric acid and spigelia. And if we look at the which organs are being affected and how affected, then the nitric acid is clear as we are having an infection, the affection of bladder and urethra, orifices in the tubular structure. So the patient got relief with the nitric acid. So this is how he would consider the modality in depth. He would
It
examine
is
the
very
360 aspect of the modality.
Navnit, it is very important to understand,
Yes,
he, he is in a very subtle way asking us to be keen observers,
yes,
keen converter of that observation into an appropriate symptom,
yes,
and then making an effort to understand that symptom that the patient is telling us.
yes,
All of this just talks of an effort to understand the pathogenesis of the evolution of the problem, the sphere of action of the remedy that comes up, and it also talks of how the physician intelligently connects in an artistic way the
yes,
observation to the conversion to the rubric to the remedy.
perfect.
So this is something that is very unique of this repertory.
Yes.
I mean, how many rubrics you found, Navneet, are very unique for that repertory? Did you find any unique rubrics?
There are many actually to talk of, but I found when I was in PG at Palghar, we had a
Mm-hmm.
very unique case. The lady came to us in a screening department with the complaint of otitis, acute otitis media.
Okay.
Right. So we had a history. So she had a similar complaint in previous pregnancy. And when patient came to us, she was having, I think, third or fourth month. She was having a pregnancy. So it is very clear she is having the same complaint during the pregnancy, multiple times. So Phatak gives very interesting rubric. Ear, if you go into ear, and you can have a pregnancy aggravation. Ear, pregnancy aggravation. Just one remedy, capsicum. So we had referred from a modern repertory at that time. But when I studied the case retrospectively, then I found that the source is Phatak's repertory. So it has not been given anywhere in any other repertory. It is only in Phatak repertory in a very interesting manner. The whole totality you can understand from one rubric, though it is a particular rubric, but it gives so much clarity that you can have a pregnancy aggravation, which is the repeated, we can say, the time phase or modality, physiological condition in which the certain condition is coming up. And what condition is coming up? It is also the common during pregnancy. Ear. You can have a sphere of action, the modality, the same connection between those modality, which is being repeated, so we can generalize it. So the capsicum, and we all know that mastoiditis and otitis, the capsicum is the remedy. So it is a very interesting thing.
Navneet, just an issue over here. I hope everyone is able to hear what Navneet is saying.
You can thumbs up in a comment, all the audience.
Yeah, because I saw Dr. Dandukia making a comment of no voice, therefore I thought I should ask.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Once is.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
I think Dr. Dandukia will settle out with this problem. It's audible to most. Yeah, no. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Sure. Another is there are many rubrics which we can say unique of Phatak, but they are having origin from the bogus synoptic key. So definitely we would discuss that. One is very interesting rubric of associated effects. Associated effects. So at
Yeah.
first thing, the one would confuse you what it means actually. And when we are having some clarity on the word meaning of associated effects, we would not know how we should apply it. So that also happened to me when I referred the rubric associated effects. But I got the clarity from two places. One is from the writing of Dr. P. Sankaran. He has mentioned the clarity about this rubric. And the second I will talk later. One is he is explaining that associated effects is the rubric. Those remedies are having a tendency to get more concomitants.
Yep.
A very unique, interesting aspect. So it can be used when you are having a strong concomitant in your case, but you would not find at a particular level that the stomach pain with the headache, etc. So at a particular level, you are unable to find both the complaint together in your repertory. But you are having so much clarity in your case that both are being connected, or patient is having a multiple complaint connected together at times. So associated effects becomes the rubric or genius of the case. In
It happens, we patients tell us a lot of symptoms,
yeah,
and we are clueless, even in the softwares or even in the physical
you
modern
would not
repertory.
find.
You
Yes,
are not finding a rubric, and that's the
definitely.
time when you can go back to this rubric.
Yes, and another very interesting experience came from Dr. Dhaval, one of my friend. He's working on concomitant, sir. You know that. So he was searching the concomitants and searching for some remedies. So we discussed how he is getting the data and understanding from that. So he told me in few remedies he's getting more and more concomitants from the source book, and in few remedies there are not that much concomitant. So it can be thought of, or we can further search on that or study on that. That few remedies are having a tendency to get more concomitants than others. So the rubric can be justified in that manner also, the retrospective search from source book. So it is very interesting thing which I recently connected with this rubric.
You are now exciting me, and as an examiner, to park a question. Now,
Yes.
how to connect Madras Medica to repertory using
Repertory.
Phatak's repertory.
Yeah.
Question is already leaked. So a question of potential question paper is leaked as on today.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Oh God, oh God. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And what about the all across the remedies that are seen? People believe that the number of remedies that are reflected in the repertory are much less compared to any modern repertory that one would see few thousand remedies.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So it is
But
definitely less.
yeah.
Yeah, sir. Now, ab,
But
yeah, complete,
there,
sir.
but still, I believe that most of the remedies that are referred in that repertory are not exclusively polycrusts.
Yes.
That just demonstrates the expanse of the practice and the utility of medicines that Phatak sir may have applied in his practice.
Yes.
But that just also, kind of indicates to us a potential way of further maybe adding to the repertory, maybe kind of creating appendages to it, knowing the philosophical background of that repertory. Maybe you studied if someone takes a study dissertation on this, we could try and figure out a way of enriching this body of knowledge that we all are lucky to have in our custody. What is your
Yes,
opinion on that?
yes, discussion is going advanced actually. Okay. So, first I will talk primarily about the number of remedies. It contains around 393 or around, we can say, 400 remedies. So, most of the polycrest are included. Or in general, practically, we are applying the group of remedy from the honeyman time. So, we can definitely see there is a particular group of remedy of polycrest from which we can work out most of the cases. So in that manner, this number are not less for a practical purpose. But as far as the database is concerned, it is quite a less number from the modern repertories, definitely. And considering the importance and utility and the success of the repertory, we should definitely upgrade it with the newer data. But in the framework of, we can say, philosophy and the structure, so we should be very strict while adding the remedy or rubric. And one very, I think it can be a interesting thing, or we should keep in mind that Phatak's repertory, Phatak has not included any remedies from a very casual or single experience, unless it has been a very strongly justified in his practice or justified from a author like Kent, Boger or Bonninghausen or Clark. He has mentioned it. And it has been based on
Interesting. Interesting. The repertory text that was created, he waited for 10 years
30 years, sir.
before he actually published it.
Yeah,
And then the second edition, which again took 10 more years before he actually published it. So almost 20, 25 years of effort
effort.
before he has actually confirmed that, yeah, this remedy, this rubric.
So they were very serious about adding the remedy. Phatak,
Absolutely.
Boger, all.
Absolutely. Navnit, as a take home to people, since we are just running out of time now, as a
Okay.
take home, what would you think would be pointers that people should take home if they have to open Phatak's repertory?
Okay, Phatak's repertory is very interesting repertory. One thing, it is based on Boger's philosophy. So actually, you should or you must study the Boger's work, BBCR and Boger's synoptic key, and how is the Boger would work out the cases or Boger's philosophy. One thing, then you would be able to apply Phatak's in a very more effective way than not. This is the one thing. Another thing is you would find rubrics in a very effective manner if you study the repertory at your leisure without any case, like reading a book. So you should read the rubric without any purpose. Then you would be very acquainted with the type of rubrics or the availability of rubrics. Then you will be able to match the rubric that this is available, like associated effects. If we don't know the rubric exists, we cannot match it. So one is we should study the Boger to use Phatak more effectively. Another is we should study the rubrics in general from Phatak's repertory. And definitely any rubrics or remedy cannot be taken or should not be taken as you have highlighted like keynote or eureka moment, or I would prescribe on single rubric. So we must have a base of totality and importance of symptom in totality. Then we can use this repertory in a very justified manner. Another is we should not take too much number of rubrics while repertorizing with this. For that we have a larger repertories. Only essential aspect in a limited number of rubrics. Then it will definitely work in a very better way.
Perfect.
So
Very true, Navnit, very true. Very true.
This is how we can conclude the pointers.
Yeah. Thank you, Navnit. It was great talking to you.
Yes, sir. Any questions
we-
we should take? Kayur, sir?
Yes, if we have any question, we'll be able to take about a question or two if the audience would type it in the comment box.
Dr. Vansh has suggested to reference collected works by Robert Banan and clinical experience by Phatak for the further study reference. Thank you, Vansh.
Yeah.
No question. Okay.
Okay, so to conclude, many thanks to Anoop sir and Navnit sir for this, I would say, very extremely enriching interaction. And many thanks to the audience for sparing their time in the afternoon and making the best out of this live session. We will come up with more such sessions from various departments at MLD, MHI, and we'll have many new speakers, and we're quite sure you will learn a lot. You'll take away home a lot. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
sir. Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you,
Navnit.
sir.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
sir. Thank you.
Bye.